Pamela. Pamela.
Hey, how are you?
Curly hair. I am so sorry. I was on a call. I was on an interview with a lady. Oh my God, so fascinating. And I just looked at my computer. I'm like, oh my God, it's 3:56.
That's okay. You gotta take those calls, I tell you.
Oh, pardon?
You definitely have to take those calls. You can't let those interviews cut them short, especially if they're fascinating.
It was so fascinating. I'm like, oh my God, here's a lady that escaped from an abusive husband in the Middle East. And she and her daughter are writing a book about it. And she's starting this movement to help other women. And I'm like, it's a fascinating story. And I'm like, wow. She's all stressed out about this book that she said she hasn't written, but she's written like 754 pages or 800 pages or something. And I'm like, oh, you've done your job. Now just hand it off and let other people finish it. You don't have to finish the whole thing. You've done what you need to do. So yeah, that was really super fascinating though.
That's fascinating. Oh my goodness.
That was totally cool. So hi, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm good. I hate when I get behind schedule though.
It's okay, don't worry.
I'm gonna pull you off the wall.
It happens, don't worry about it.
Well, I appreciate you being on here. I was just going over to LinkedIn and I'm like, oh, I hear something. People won't get on and hang on and wait for me if I'm late. That's why I just hate being late.
No. I actually was trying to get on and it wasn't letting me on. I didn't know what was going on. And then I downloaded the app and then it finally. Now we're good.
I hate those technical things. So tell me a little bit about you and about what you do.
Sure.
Let me make this bigger so I can see. I have really bad eyes, so I use a magnifying glass, but I like to see you.
No worries. So essentially, I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I'm a real estate developer. So I basically buy, fix, and flip places. I've done about 10 on my own. And pretty much, I'm taking my GC exam on November 7th. So I'll be scheduled to be the youngest female general contractor in Massachusetts right now, which is pretty awesome. So that's my goal right now. I've done about 10 properties myself. Then I'm also a real estate broker, both commercial and residential. Then I own an ice cream company too. So that's kind of the trifecta of the series. So I mean, I go from literally buy, fix, and flip to brick and mortar small business. So I sort of seen it all, done a lot of startups. And I actually turned 27 in a couple of days. So it's pretty awesome. So what happened since I started? Because my first brick and mortar I opened in like 20. So it's kind of been an interesting journey.
All right, Pamela, for some reason, I cannot hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe I was muffling and I don't know what I was doing.
It was muffling for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm like, all right, I can't hear anything she's saying. Okay, so start over. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's okay. So basically, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So I'm a real estate developer, but I mostly buy, fix, and flip properties. I've done about 10 myself. Personally, and I'm working on getting my general contractor's license actually in November 7th. Yeah, in a week. Nice. My exam, so I'll be the youngest in Massachusetts, youngest female general contractor.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Because you look like
my birthday's in 2 days, so I turned 27. And so
cool.
Yeah, and so I also am a real estate broker, commercial and residential. Then I also own an ice cream cafe in Boston too. So I go from like brick and mortar, small biz to real estate, a bunch of other things. I've opened my first brick and mortar when I.
Okay, I lost your sound again.
Oh, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay.
Bugged out when you said you built your first brick and mortar. I didn't hear how old.
I was 20 when I opened my first. Yeah. And then I opened my brick and mortar shop when I was 21. Then pretty much went on to do real estate stuff past that and kind of put my store on autopilot and started doing all these different things. Right now I'm also working, I do a lot with youth development, especially teenagers, and empowerment and teaching them about entrepreneurship and business and pretty much all the pitfalls that I had to advance them further. And so I'm studying real estate development at Harvard Business School now. And I was at Babson and then Stonehill before that. So the educational background, I mean, that's really what got me here. I came to the United States when I was 5 years old.
my parents had nothing. They built everything pretty much ground up, and I saw all of that at a young age. I started when I was 10 with them at their restaurant in Boston, and then that's pretty much kind of started. So that's my whole life story in a nutshell. How about you?
That was my next question, was what got you started on the entrepreneurial journey? Because I know that I'm from a family of my dad worked for corporate America, but he always had businesses going on the side. So I grew up in a really entrepreneurial family as well. I started my first business, and it was an ice business, making ice cubes and bagging up ice cubes, and then block ice when I was 13. And I had to hire people to drive for me because I couldn't drive to deliver it at 13. But yeah, and then after that, it was a bunch of different businesses. And then I did the corporate career as well for a quarter century because I'm old, and did that. But yeah, once you get that entrepreneurial bug, it's just one after another company, and it's just fun.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree. If you're like bred in the chaos, you know, it comes naturally, I feel like, you know, and you're just used to it, you know, and that's how what I didn't realize was strength for me, was the fact that, you know, you can take chaos and run with it, and really be able to, and I feel like that's such a huge part of entrepreneurship that like nobody teaches, you know, you can't learn that in school. Like you could try, but it's like, you know, an improvisation and like,
I guess I'm not frozen. You're frozen, Pamela. Pamela. Boy, we're having technical difficulties today. Pamela. Okay, well, when the computer freezes, I just keep talking. Pamela. I had this happen yesterday, too. It's super frustrating. Now she's gone. Sad face. That's my sad face. Which costume for tomorrow back there? Pajama grandmas. I'm usually in my pajamas, but I went out to lunch, so I'm not in my pajamas today. Pamela, come back. I'm hoping she'll call back in because she's got a fascinating story and I want to hear more. Pamela. So, going to be 27 in a couple of days. She's got a handful of businesses. She's going to be the youngest female general contractor in the state of Massachusetts. That is exciting. I can relate to that. Some of the youngest. I was the youngest female. I actually was one of the only female. I think I was probably the only female mailroom managers in the newspaper industry when I became the manager of that division for a Knight Ridder property. And then a lot of times I was the only woman working in different companies, which was always entertaining, and in different industries. And I love what Pamela has to say about pulling an organization out of chaos.
Hey,
oh, you're back. I was hoping you'd pop back on.
Oh, hang on.
Sometimes technology is a pain.
Oh boy. Okay. Good?
Good. We can hear you and everything.
Cool.
Awesome. So, taking and making things out of chaos. I love that. I was just kind of recapping as you were gone. You were frozen and then you disappeared into a black hole. I don't know.
Sorry about that.
So, tell me, what would you say has been your biggest lesson learned growing all your different businesses?
Throughout your different business, I mean, and this is going to sound super cliche, but I mean, you got to follow your passion. Like when you're doing something that does not feel like work, that is the right field for you. Because I tried a few things. I mean, even my own store, like I felt almost like trapped. Like I didn't feel like that was like, and I own it, you know? And as an entrepreneur, like sometimes you get to these like pivotal points that you're like, is this like really what I want to be doing? Because you invest so much time and so much energy and so much effort that it's got to be something that you love. And so whatever you're doing, I guess like just following your passion for it and just trusting in the process that like, yeah, you know, businesses take time to build, but really trusting that because I mean, like with my store, like even when I opened both, I had two. And I didn't feel like I was at like where I was supposed to be. And like, I just kept going. And then that's when getting into flipping and getting into the brokerage. I mean, that's where I really felt like, especially the development part of like actually having the chance to create something of your own. that's tangible, like that really is where I found like myself. And not only that, I mean, now even like getting into teaching at different schools and different things like that, you know, talking about entrepreneurship and business, and even my alma mater, like wanting to hire me to basically teach real estate is the craziest thing, because that I also enjoy that too. So, I mean, finding your position in the world, doing a business that pays you, and also something that you love that doesn't feel like work. I mean, that's like the ideal, like that I think is success, you know, and where time is really like on your side. And that's the biggest piece of advice that I would give. I mean, there's a million things I could say, but that's like rule number one, because of all the time that you invested, you know, that's the biggest thing. And it's like, if you're not enjoying what you do, then what's the point of you even being in business, you know? Because when you're passionate about it, your clients can definitely tell, or anybody who sees you doing it can absolutely tell whether you're loving it or you're not. And like for me, it's like I do it with all my heart. Yeah, I could work like 100 hours, but it doesn't feel like 100 hours because it's what I love to do. So that's my biggest thing. That's rule number one, is doing it with passion. And you know, when you do it with passion, creativity comes and you're happier. It's just so many things flow so much better, and so does your business. So, you know, oftentimes I see entrepreneurs kind of chasing the dollar signs behind entrepreneurship sometimes, and it doesn't work. I wish it did, but it doesn't. And it's evident. And then that's how they become miserable, and that's how, you know, their businesses downturn, and they're like, oh, I'll go back to corporate America. You know, I'm sure you've seen it longer than I have, but this, even in being an entrepreneur less than 10 years, I've just seen it all. I feel like I've seen a lot, and I'm just like, oh man, you know, you got to do it with love, got to do it with passion. That's the biggest thing, you know?
Absolutely. Very, very, very good and wise advice, because I think you might have found it during your travels, but I know I've been in businesses that I loved and it didn't feel like work, and I could work all the time, and my kids think all I do is work. And there's been other businesses where it was like, oh, dang, I don't want to go in there today. I just don't want to do this for another day. And that was always my signal that I was done and I needed to find a new adventure. That was when I knew I needed to find a new job or a new business or a new industry. That was always like, because you kind of follow this path of curiosity, and it's what do I love and what makes me feel good. And if I'm following and pursuing that, business is fun and it doesn't feel like work. There's this whole discussion about sacrifice, and everybody says, oh, you have to sacrifice to create what you want if you want to be an entrepreneur. And I think that's nonsense. I think that if you're making choices and you're doing things that feel good to you, it's not a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice to work on a Friday night if what I do I love to do. It is a sacrifice if I'd rather be out with my friends, but it's not, because if you're doing what you love to do, then you're not sacrificing. You're choosing what you love over other things that you could do that you might not even think are valuable or fun. So
I 1000% agree. I 1000% agree. You know, sometimes I'm like out with friends and I'm just like, oh, I wish I was working on on one of my projects right now. Like, what's the next one? You know, what's the next deal coming? You know, so it's funny that you say that, because I mean, you end up falling in love with it when it's genuinely your passion in your life. You know, your life purpose. You know, it serves a bigger purpose at the end of the day, because I feel like it's so intertwined. I mean, your personal life and entrepreneurial life becomes so intertwined that you gotta love what you do. That's rule number one above anything. And if you're not crazy passionate, if it doesn't put fire in you, it's not the right business for you. That's the way I feel.
Same thing with jobs, people. If it's not the right job for you and you're miserable, you need to do something else. You need to make a change. But most people don't. We get trapped into these roles and they just live them out for decades, and then they wonder why they're miserable. Amazing.
Agreed.
So what's next for you besides your GT exam?
Yes. So actually, after I launched that, so I'm working on more funding in order to basically scale up my businesses. I've done like 3 to 4 projects a year. I really want to get to about 10. I was interviewed by HGTV like a year and a half ago to do like a TV show. So right now I'm trying to team up with filmmakers and different people in the media industry who need some content and to really magnify the story, my story, you know, coming to the US when I was 5 years old, English, third language, whatever, and really building everything ground up. I'm very much about breaking glass ceilings and like the female, you know, because basically I'm a female in a man's world, you can say that, with construction. So, you know, I want to continue to shatter those stereotypes and continue growing my business, no question. And, you know, get the story out there. But aside from that, I really want to dig deeper into my empowerment. So I do a lot of youth development. So I'm trying to get into more schools to talk to teenagers and the youth about entrepreneurship, get them thinking and get them creative about it, teach them a little bit about real estate because it surrounds everybody. And really, that's really what's next. And then growing my brokerage business as well. So pretty soon I'm going to have, once I get my GC license, everything under one umbrella. So I'll change the brand name and everything will be sort of under one entity. So like the brokerage, the construction, everything sort of in one. And then the youth development will be separate. And my youth development organization is called Vibe. So it's called Vibe. So V for visionaries, I for innovators, B for believers, and E is for entrepreneurs. So I teach that at Northeastern University through the YMCA currently to inner city school kids, which is an amazing time. And I want to sort of magnify that, get into more schools, get into more speaking engagements, and really talk about entrepreneurship and going for your dreams, even if you think it's an industry that you're never going to make it in. I mean, I never thought, being a young female entrepreneur, being in construction, like I'll show up on a job site and they're like, wow, that's the boss. It's like, yes, that's it, like you really literally have the power to do anything that your soul wants. And it's, I really want to help people aside from my businesses and growing, of course, I really want to help them find their voice to do things too, whether it's through their own job, their dream career, or if it's they want to start a business. I mean, that's like my second sort of purpose, and aside from my businesses too. So that's really what's next, I think, is those two components, is growing the businesses and scaling, and then getting into more empowerment, fun stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask it just a different question. What is like your social media platform look like? Do you do anything on social media to get your message out?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm heavy on LinkedIn. I do a lot of LinkedIn. I do even more actually on Instagram. Facebook, kind of. Yeah, I mean, I post a lot there too, but mostly Instagram. Instagram's cool because you can, it's very focused in terms of content. So you can do like a video, you can do a story, and you can do pictures, and it's very direct. I mean, and you can tag and do all sorts of fun stuff. So that's really my main platform. And then using the hashtag system too. I mean, you can connect with people all over the world that are, talking about the same topic, which is cool. I mean, Twitter kind of does that too, but I think Instagram's on I don't know why. I just like, it's more user friendly. I like Instagram better, but Instagram,
it's a much better platform than Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter, I don't know. I feel like the users, like nobody's really on it as much. I don't know if that's just me or if it's my generation, my millennial generation. I don't know. But Instagram,
a little bit. I think Instagram is going to be huge, and Instagram's definitely huge for your generation. My generation has a hard time figuring it out, but your generation just totally gets it.
Yes. So that's definitely my platforms, and I mean, as many of them as I could be on. I really like to portray my message and sort of show everyone what I'm up to, what are the companies up to, and whether it's I'm at a school talking to the fifth graders, or if it's one of my new renovation projects. I always like to keep everybody in the loop. So I definitely want to create more content to sort of like magnify everything that I'm doing, because what I've sort of found was telling my own story has really impacted others, which I never really realized until I had friends of mine that were like, listen, Pam, because I saw you do this, like I did this. And it didn't really hit me because I was like, I don't want to talk about myself and my businesses. I don't want to be like, that person. But when I realized that my story could inspire others to do their own thing and really chase their dreams, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, we got to get this message out there. We got to get things rolling, and that's when I sort of started speaking more publicly and like getting into schools and like teaching entrepreneurship and giving resources and skills where people didn't think it was possible, and they're really opening eyes and, doing that with my businesses continuously.
Your story and you being you is the most powerful thing that you can do on the planet, because it gives everybody else permission to be themselves too. So you're setting an incredible example for other people, especially young people. A lot of people your age say they want to be entrepreneurs, but they want to be entrepreneurs if it's easy and if they can just kind of fall into it. But entrepreneurship is never easy. And if you can spread the message that it's work, but it's worth it, I think that that's an incredibly valuable message that you can share with the world. Cool.
Absolutely. And it's a patience thing too, it doesn't grow overnight. I mean, they literally say it takes 3 to 5 years to build a business, and that is 100% true. It takes patience. And I feel like, sometimes these days, people, it's the whole instant gratification mode of the world. I feel like, that it's like, oh, get rich quick, which doesn't exist, no matter what industry you're in, it takes time. Everything takes time. So that's the number one thing is, and riding it out through the hardships, because in the beginning, there's so many, it's like you're riding waves and it's like up and down and like on an everyday basis. So like the mental stamina has to be really strong. Then that's why the passion is so important, because you lose that so quickly if you don't have that passion behind what you're doing, So yeah, I would totally agree with that it's, 100%.
I think that to get through the ups and downs, you have to have a really strong why, a really strong reason why you're doing something. So if it's not too personal, can I ask your why? What drives you, do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, my biggest why is my family. I mean, my parents, I was 5 years old when they came here, and my brother was 6 months old. And so Albania had just gotten out of the communism collapse in 91. So, I mean, what happened was my grandmother put my mom and dad's name into the visa lottery, because that's the only way you can come here is if you get the visas, which basically enables you 2 years to come here, and you can decide after that whether you want to stay or you want to go. So, I mean, my dad, his dad was a diplomat. So my grandfather was in the government. He was an ambassador. Like, they were living just fine, in Albania. But once they got the visa lottery, they literally dropped everything they were doing and just came here with nothing, didn't know anybody, didn't know the language, didn't know. And that, to me, like, that takes extreme courage, and then throughout the years, watch them, my dad worked 3 jobs, and then he learns English, and then he gets into the restaurant business. One of his friends gives him $150,000 to go buy a business. My dad did just that, paid him back in 2 years. After that, he buys the building, and then so on and so forth. So, I mean, my main motivation is to make them proud, because they came here, they sacrificed everything they had there just to come here and give my brother and I a better life. So it's only right that I do it, and I do it in a big way. So that's my number one motivation. And then number two, is I feel like my life purpose and the reason why I got put here in this position was to help others get there. And it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. It can really be anything, but really finding like your true voice and really going with that. Because I feel like society instills a lot of fear, like, all the time, and it stereotypes and so many things that barricade you from reaching your goals and your dreams and who you want to be. And that's why, I've really implemented fearlessness. And like that's my biggest thing is, even if you're going to fall flat on your face, you just keep going. You keep going. You keep going. You're not afraid of it. And that's what's happened is people have seen me do that through all my businesses and everything, and just keep going. And that's how they've seen some inspiration. So if I could bring that on a mass level, I think that, you have potential to change the world. So that's kind of the two pieces to it, like family definitely, and then helping the world too, and helping everyone find their true voice. I'm very passionate about helping others. So
fantastic. That's wonderful. Well, Pamela, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Do you have any parting words for us or for our audience? This is a group that is growing their businesses and they're in various stages of growing their businesses. Everybody's pretty much got a business already. Any words of advice besides be passionate, you work through the ups and downs, have your reason why. Any last words of young wisdom?
Yeah, so totally. I would say, so I have a success formula that I basically, when I go into schools, I talk about it, no matter what the age. So it's called FACS. So it's FACPS. So F is for fearlessness. A is for adaptability. C is for compassion. T is for trust your gut. And S is for self-confidence. So those are the facts, and that's how I say it. And that's really the formula that I've used throughout all of my endeavors to really achieve where I got to today. I mean, in your business, you've got to be fearless. You've got to try new things. You have to look at things from basically your customer's perspective or your client's perspective, no matter if it's business to business or if it's business to consumer. And, in terms of the adaptability. You gotta be able to adapt. Like if something happens in your business and you think it's the end of the world, it's not. Like one door closes, another one opens, and you gotta be open to receiving that, you know, because it can help your business tremendously. Adaptability is huge. Compassion, understanding the other person, that is incredibly important. Communication skills are really what's going to define you in the marketplace. If you can articulate what your business does effectively, you will be successful. Because if the other side doesn't know what you're doing or what you're representing, your brand, that's huge. Communication too. It could be communication, compassion, kind of tied into both. Trusting your gut is I mean, with that one, there's been many times where my gut has told me, don't do this, do that, you know, trust that 100,000%. That's your soul really speaking to you. And 100% listen to that. And self-confidence, I cannot stress this one enough. If you don't believe in yourself and if you don't love yourself, nobody else will. It starts with you. You know, that's rule number one, you know, having that self-love, having that self-confidence, and knowing you can pull through. Because like I mentioned earlier, entrepreneurship is a mental game. You really have to go through a lot all the time, and you have to be strong enough to take it, you know, and believe in yourself. Like, yes, there are some obstacles. It feels like the end of the world is happening right now, but listen, we're going to get through it. There's always a rainbow after the storm, right? And so that's the way I look at it, and that's why it's so important. So those are basically, that's my last piece of advice, the facts. Never forget those.
That is absolutely fantastic. And I love acronyms. I love doing that. I love somebody else that does that. That just made my day. Well, Pamela, thank you so much. I'm going to sign off, but don't hang up.
Yes, absolutely.